If you had the money to live anywhere, would you still want to live in Venice, or would you want to be in a place that resembled the old school Venice?
If I had the money, I would probably try to find a place that resembled the old Venice, but there is no Venice. There is no Venice anywhere else. And so ideally it would be, let's all come back here and make it what it was. My name is Trina Mitchell, and I'm from Venice, California.
What would you like to see happen in the Venice community? If it was up to you, what would you like to see the future of Venice look like?
Oh, the future of Venice. That's tough. I feel like the future of Venice, if we could go back to when everyone was represented here and everyone got along, and I wouldn't say we always all got along, but it still felt like our community was welcoming and people could have a family here, and people's gates aren't way up high and you can't get to know them because they don't want to interact with anyone, you know. So I feel like the future of Venice, I would love for it to go back to like being lots of black families represented, lots of Hispanic families, kind of having that black Latino unity going on again. Bringing back some of the like community events we used to have at Oakwood, getting rid of them damn dogs at the park, you know, making Oakwood what it was back in the day. Just kind of bringing back the flavor, the culture and the eccentric part of Venice.
And it's funny because I feel like that's why a lot of newcomers from Venice moved to Venice, because of the culture, the flavor, the eccentric style that Venice has. But with them coming in and them not welcoming the people that are born and raised here, that has kind of been lost in transition.
Absolutely.
You know? So.
Or people are trying too hard to be Venice, so like, you know, they got all these fancy stores on Abercrombie, raggedy clothes for $200. Like, that's not Venice, you know? Like, no one cares about your clothes. Like, just come here and be you. So now it does feel like there's a certain like class that's here, like a upper class, bougie, exclusive vibe.
When we grew up in Venice, what type of class do you think were here? So now it's the bougie, the upper echelon type of class coming to Venice. What do you think it was back in the day?
I felt like back in the day, it seemed like there were a lot of working class families. We did have lower income families, but I felt like they had a place and there was like a structure for lower income families. So it didn't feel out of place, felt like normalized a bit, like other people shared that experience, like the low income housing apartments that I grew up in. And it just felt like people were just middle class, like going to work, coming home, you know, not all the extra stuff that has come with it.
2-car garages, mansions.
Right. People were driving, like our neighbors on Santa Clara had like Volvos or like old school Volkswagens, you know.
Sure. Any funny stories that you have being out here? Any funny experiences that you've been in being out here? It could have been on the beach, could have been in the neighborhood or anywhere.
Any funny experiences? As little kids, we were kind of bad, you know. Well, I wouldn't say bad, but we were explorers. We liked to do things, but we would put things out in the street so that when cars drove down, they would have to like run over them. And so we got creative. We put like snails and cans. And one time we just put a chair out, thinking that someone was gonna like just run it through. And the lady got out the car like, "Are you kidding me? Like, why would you put a chair?" And we were just cracking up laughing. Like, we thought it was so funny, and she was so annoyed. Like, you badass kids, you know? Exactly. But, you know, and then one more, we were washing cars, but we didn't know what we were doing. We were just trying to make money, and we were using dish soap. And our neighbor's car, the paint came off the car because we were using this harsh dish soap, and we just act like it didn't happen, and we still got paid, but we were cracking up afterwards like, we're scamming people, you know? We don't know what we're doing. But so those are two that, like, right now as I think about it, I'm sure there's a lot more that make me laugh.
Do you have a favorite memory in Venice, or your best memory that you could think of as an adult, or favorite experience as an adult in Venice, in the neighborhood?
I think to this day, my favorite memory in Venice will always be the drum circle. Like, I grew up going there as a teenager, and like when I go back, even as an adult, it still just brings me so much joy, and I just love it. And then with the sunset in the background, I love watching the sunset in Venice. Like, that's my favorite thing. That's my therapy. And I've seen a million sunsets across the world, different countries, you know, different cities, but there's something about the Venice sunset that just makes me feel at home.
Out of all the people that you grew up with that were of Black or Mexican descent, Hispanic descent, how many of those people that you grew up with have passports?
I'm not, so at least my immediate group of friends that I grew up with, I would say 2 of us out of the group have passports and have actually traveled. But actually now my brother has a passport. So, and then my mom has a passport. I know you said like my group, but now the people that I'm talking about, I feel like people are now opening up to be like, oh, I want to travel. Oh, I'm seeing people travel. Now I want to get a passport. So I've noticed, like, even within my family, a lot more of them have started getting passports.
Did you inspire that change?
I think I did.
Okay.
I like to think I did.
And what inspired you to want to get a passport?
So what inspired me to want to get a passport was when I was in New York, I was dating someone who had been to 85 countries.
Wow.
And I had never heard of anything like that before. And so I just picked his brain, like, tell me about every single country. Like, I want to know all of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't think travel was accessible. I always felt like that was just something only people with money or only rich people did. And when I started exploring prices and flights, and I realized, wait, I spend this money on like BS all the time. If I just save my money, I could take a trip somewhere.
Yeah.
And so it just shifted completely. And I booked my first flight out of the country was to, well, it was to Jamaica, but my first big international was to Southeast Asia.
Where in Southeast Asia?
I flew to Vietnam and Cambodia and Thailand. And my ticket was $600 round trip.
Round trip.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a deal.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
So I was like, only $600? Like, I never knew this, you know?
Yeah.
So after that, once you start, you just want to keep going. And
How long was the trip for?
Southeast Asia was 3.5 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And I had friends that lived there.
Okay.
So that's how I got to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of, that's jam packing it, because there's so much beautiful things and culture to see.
Yeah.
And even the food in each one of those countries.
You could spend a month there.
Easily.
In each one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the furthest trip I've ever took too. I went to Thailand for a month solo.
Oh,
And
nice.
It was amazing, life changing.
So cheap too. Yeah.
And that's the one place where I really felt a sense of freedom that I've never felt in the States and still don't feel.
Right.
You know, the cops actually asked me to take a picture with me.
Yeah.
And it was just so foreign where I was like, what? Y'all want a picture with me?
Right.
Like, okay, cool.
Right.
You know?
Everywhere I went, people wanted pictures with me. I'm like, all right, like, sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And the cost of living out there is so cheap, especially if you come with American dollars, you can really live very well.
Right.
You know?
Right. Actually, my first trip, I'm lying, it was South Africa, but I was in college, like study abroad.
Okay.
So it was with a group. And then I almost forgot about South Africa.
How you forget about the whole
I have no idea. That's crazy. I'm like, wait a minute.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you were there for a semester then?
I was there for like 2 months.
Oh, wow.
A summer semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's their native language in South Africa?
Xhosa and English and Afrikaans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like there's so much culture and history in Africa that a lot of people from America don't really even know about. And, I mean, unless we really go over there and travel there, you wouldn't really know about it. You could read it in books, you can watch it on TV, but it's different once you're in the homeland
different.
on foot, you know?
And each country is different.
Yeah.
So I want to get to all of them, you know, travel to, I'm going to Egypt actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's what's up. When you going?
In February.
Okay.
With someone from Venice, actually.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How long are you going for?
It's her birthday trip and it's for a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how many countries have you been to then? Have you counted?
I have counted. I think I'm at 16 countries.
That's what's up. What year did you go to your first country?
2008.
2008. Okay. So you've been traveling a good amount then.
I have.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
more than one country a year.
So I'm on my second passport because my first one expired already.
Oh, that's what's
So I was
up.
like, woo!
Got to frame that or something.
Right.
Can you tell me the most valuable lesson that you've learned in your life?
Oh, this is deep. The most valuable lesson. I would say the most valuable lesson is that your happiness and freedom are really what matters. And like, you know, we all chase different things to bring us happiness or make us feel complete. But I think there's real happiness in being free, and whatever that looks like for everyone's different. And I just think like if I had known that back then, I probably would have chased more dreams and been more of a risk taker and not stayed so much in my bubble or being safe, and you know, been a little more wild and crazy and free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that. That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank
you
you.
for your words and everything.
Of course.
Yeah. That was good.
If you like this interview, please subscribe to GV Local.